What's up, guys? It's G here, and welcome back to the Grizzly Life Podcast. In this episode, Colton recaps the recent trip he and I took to North Carolina, sharing what we were up to and some of the things he took away from the experience. New episodes drop every Tuesday and Thursday, so make sure to subscribe, follow, and turn on notifications. Now let's get into episode 24 of the Grizzly Life Podcast.
Yo, what is going on, guys? It is episode 24 of many. It is May 19th, 2025. It is my 27th birthday, so we'll start off with that. Today we're going to be kind of talking about, my brother here in the producer chair, G, is with me. And we just got back from a North Carolina trip. And so I'm going to kind of explain that and kind of what that was all about and some takeaways from that. Before we get into that, I hope you guys enjoyed last episode. We talked a little bit about like finances and credit. If you guys liked that, let us know. It was kind of a different style episode. Usually we don't kind of talk about that, but the more and more I think about kind of the Grizzly life, and as we continue working on this podcast and kind of what it's going to be, the more I think it's really just about being the best you, no matter what that means, right? So however you envision that, however you take that, that's the goal here. Our goal is to not just say, again, it's not just for Grizzly Fitness members. This is for anybody and everybody. Our goal is for you to be the absolute best version of yourself day after day. Continue working on becoming the best version of yourself. So maybe you don't like to work out, but maybe you want to start taking your dog for a walk more. Maybe you like to read, but you haven't been doing it enough. Maybe you want to go to church more often and you're not doing it enough, all of those things too. It doesn't need to be just fitness related. Again, and we just talked about finances. Maybe you need to do a better job saving money. Maybe you need to do a better job setting goals, maybe buy a house, buy a car, whatever that is. So I think all of those different areas play into being the best version of yourself. So I know naturally we think we're just talking fitness and being healthy. Obviously that is very important, but I think there's several other areas and factors that you guys can kind of tap into to be the best you. So also reach out to me. Let me know what you're doing to kind of improve your day-to-days, or if this podcast is helping you at all in any way. I'd love to hear kind of your stories and what you've changed since maybe tuning in, or if there's anything that was maybe eye-opening from doing this, listening to us or whatever. I'd like to hear kind of what you guys got going on. So reach out, let me know. Anyways, let's hop into this North Carolina trip. For those of you that have me on Snapchat, you probably saw, Facebook and Instagram too. I might have posted a couple things. Basically, my brother and I went on this trip to Outer Banks, North Carolina. Pretty cool place. Never been to that part of the country. I was in Maryland last year as well for another trip similar to this, but we left last week Wednesday. We flew into Norfolk, Virginia. We got a hotel there, stayed there. And then Thursday, we picked up my buddy Taylor, and we drove down about 2.5 hours to the location we were heading to. This group so the reason we went out there, I'll explain each day and kind of what we did. I'll go back. But the reason we go on this trip, and the trip I went back in Maryland last October as well, these trips are for some gym owners, essentially, from all across the country. Actually, there's some, I think, Canada guys in the group as well. But this is like a group of 30, probably maybe more like 40, 45-ish gym owners that get together. We do these trips. We do 2 trips a year. And we basically get together. It's a paid-for group, so it's a group that we all pay to be a part of. It's kind of like a mentor-style group. We do workshops. We have guest speakers. We do weekly calls, weekly Zoom calls, monthly Zoom calls. We kind of have all these different aspects and all these different coaches and different angles that we kind of work on. But it's all just kind of about like business coaching, and, we learn a lot about finances as well. We kind of it's a good group of people to get together. We all kind of share what we're working on, our ideas, and we kind of all come together and just kind of work on progressing. And it's good to get together with like-minded individuals like that and just kind of have some time away, be social, again, kind of see what's going on in different markets and that kind of stuff. So that's the point of the group. It's to get together. It's to learn, educate, understand more stuff. So this trip, I'll kind of go through each day and what we did. So Wednesday, G and I flew out to Norfolk. We stayed in the Virginia Beach area. We just got a hotel When we first got there, we flew in, we had a layover in Atlanta. Then we went, Milwaukee to Atlanta, to then Atlanta to Norfolk. And we got our Jeep Gladiator. That was the rental choice that we had. We needed something that was 4-wheel drive because when we went down to Outer Banks, there is a little bit of sand driving. I'm not a huge fan of the Jeep Gladiators, but I said, you know what, I might as well try and it's a perfect opportunity to try something out like that out there and just see what you think because since they've been released, I've not been a huge fan, but overall, didn't mind it. Nice car, rode nice. It doesn't ride like a standard Jeep, so that was kind of cool. Usually when you drive a Jeep, it kind of feels like a box in the wind and you're kind of all over the road, but I didn't really have that issue with the truck. So anyways, we flew in, landed Wednesday about 4:30, 5 o'clock. Me and G grabbed some Texas Roadhouse, a nice big steak for the carnivore diet. Went back to the hotel and I started looking for gyms to train at the next day because our trip didn't really start till Thursday afternoon, evening. So Thursday morning, G and I woke up. We did some research. We found the gym about a mile and a half away. Super cool. I believe it was called like the Flex Gym. Super cool, old school from 1995 is when it started. It was all original equipment from back then. I mean, the equipment they had in there was actually older than 95, but really cool stuff. Some really cool rare pieces that I haven't seen before. I had the chance to use. It was about 8,500 square feet, so a little bit bigger than our Princeton Grizzly Fitness, but that was a really cool facility. Got to talk to the owner, told him a little bit about what we do and why we're in town. He gave me some good insight, told us a good place for breakfast. So after G and I got a good workout, we kind of did a full body thing just to kind of try out more equipment. We headed to a cafe, got some eggs, of course. That was kind of our Thursday morning. Then we picked our buddy Taylor up at the airport around 1-ish, and then our trip really begun. Headed south to Outer Banks, grabbed some lunch and some beers, ended up at Outer Banks around 4:30, 5 o'clock. And so the first night of this trip is what they call the campfire. The point of the campfire is if you think you're sitting at a campfire, you're kind of all sharing your story or whatever you want to talk about. And so Thursday night, we get there, whatever, dinner's at 6, and then I think 7:30 rolled around. We were supposed to start the campfire talk. It got pushed back a little bit. 8 o'clock comes around, and what they did first is the owner of this group, of this, like the kind of like the head guy, he gave out a bunch of gifts to his longest individuals in this group. So people who've been there for like 3 years plus, or approaching 3 years. He gave out the gold belt buckle, which is like the, highest tier. Like if you have the gold belt buckle in like the PBR, the bull riding area, that's kind of like the almighty, that's kind of how he explained it. So he gave out this gold belt buckle to, I think it was, 5 to 8 people that have been part of the group for a long time and kind of shared his story on how he met them. And so that was really cool to see. And then we started this campfire talk probably around 9 o'clock. And the first night's kind of a social hour. So you're just kind of like sipping some drinks and hanging out. And so we start campfire, and the point of the campfire is to have the individual, in this setting, what we did Thursday night was the individual had to come up to the front. It was randomly selected, so it wasn't like you got to choose if you're going or not. Tim, the owner, selected one individual at a time. The individual would come up, and the goal was to say, why are you doing what you're doing? Like, why are you in the fitness industry? Why do you own a gym? What is your why, right? Like, what is your purpose? What is your cause? So it's supposed to get deep. When he's done this in the past, he has had individuals get up there and get emotional, whether the story is to why they got into it. They might tear up, they might get emotional, or they got emotional because they were kind of like, you know what, I don't know why I'm doing this. I don't know why I'm still involved in this. He's had gym owners go up there and start speaking their why and then realize they don't have a good why anymore. They want to sell. They want to get out of the gym business. So it's just kind of supposed to be an eye-opening thing to kind of let you be vulnerable, make you vulnerable in front of the entire group. And so that's what was going on. So there's about 3 or 4 people who go, and the whole time these people are saying their story. There's some really good stories, but the whole time in the back of my head, I'm like thinking, he's going to call on me. I'm going to have to go up there. What do I say? Mind you, I'm, 26 at the time. Today I'm 27, but that's beside the point. I'm one of the youngest people in this group. A lot of these gym owners are late 30s, early 40s, some 50s. So there's a handful of younger. There's one other guy my age. And then after that, it's like basically 30, 31, 32 will be kind of the next youngest. So there's still a decent age gap there. And so when I go to this group, there's definitely like not a lack of confidence, because when I talk one-on-one to individuals, I can tell my story and I'm strong about it. And, a lot of people find it very interesting in what I do and how it's all come together. But, anybody put in a position to sit in front of 30 to 35, 40 people, and again, the age and just all of those factors. If you're not naturally a public speaker, being around here, I don't have a lot of opportunity to do that kind of stuff. It's pretty nerve-wracking. So anyways, 3 or 4 people tell their story. I see Randy, which is Tim's right-hand man, go up to him after one of the stories and kind of whisper something in Tim's ear. So the next person that got called after, Randy goes up and tells Tim, hey, whatever he was saying. The person was telling their story. That person's done. Tim calls on me. And so I'm like, great. Asked if I could bring my beer up there, go up there in front of the whole group, sit on this high chair, and just everybody's giving it kind of a round of applause. And then you're sitting there. And now you got to think why. Why are we doing what we're doing? We obviously talk about it on this podcast a fair amount. But again, sitting in front of that group of people doesn't make it easy. So I was, nervous. You could tell my voice was nervous. I spoke well as far as the story and my explanations went, but even the handful of beers I had didn't help kind of kick the nerves. I felt like I got up there and I was just like stone cold sober type thing, and it was a good experience. I was very happy that they called on me, but I wasn't happy I was very nervous. But afterwards, I felt like that was awesome. I'm happy I did that. So that feeling of not necessarily public speaking, but kind of public speaking and just getting over that fear, like that after fact felt really good. So one lesson, do the things you don't want to do, and the things that you should do but you don't want to do. Once you do them, once you accomplish them, or once you practice it, it does feel really good afterwards. But so I got up there and I basically, my why, right? My why was, I started when I was 18. I didn't, the whole story I kind of just gave a couple episodes ago about Princeton, but I said I wanted to give back to small communities, right? Being in these small towns, you have to drive an hour to get to a training facility. As a kid, as a student athlete, you got to go an hour to get the training that you need. So I wanted to provide an awesome facility for kids. I wanted to make sure that these small communities, kids and parents had a place to be healthy, grow up. When I was younger, I loved working out as well in school. So it was very important to me that these small communities had something great to fall back on and have something to do, right? So that was really my why. That's why I started after kind of getting going. I've always wanted to give back to the small communities. I've always wanted the small communities to not be overlooked. And so that was kind of my why. Of course, it wasn't enough for Tim. He kind of kept prodding questions and wanted me to continue talking, putting me in an uncomfortable situation, but he knew what he was doing. So I did talk for probably 10, 15 minutes. I told them about Priority Fitness. I told them about we've got multiple locations. I told them about my friends and family and how I feel it's very important to keep them close and that you work with them. So I made a lot of good points. It was a very good opportunity. It was a very good situation to be in. I did tell him afterwards, hey, fuck you for calling on me type thing. But at the same time, I really appreciate you for doing that. It was great. I felt, again, really relieved afterwards. So he really appreciated that too. So it was all fun, no judging. Everybody's happy to hear. And after that, the rest of, I think 1 or 2 people gave a story after me. Then it's just kind of social hour afterwards, hang out. It's Thursday night. We're all just getting there. So I did have a couple really good conversations afterwards because people then heard my story and they wanted to talk more about it. So that was really good to connect with the group on that kind of level because I had everybody's attention at once. So overall, great experience Thursday night. That was probably my biggest takeaway from this trip was just getting up there and kind of facing that fear. So, but anyways, Friday, the way this kind of works is they provide a chef. They're actually out of Arizona, so they fly out. The owner of this group, they're out of Scottsdale area. They fly out. They've got a chef buddy out there, so he flies out, and so we've kind of got a private chef the whole time, but he's just really making bulk food, right? So steak dinners, potatoes. Every morning there's omelet bar basically, so he'll make you a fresh omelet however you want it. And his name's Chef Dave. He's always cooking me up some really good. He always gives me extra eggs. He's always throwing all the meat in there. So his chorizo, all the meat omelet, but with the chorizo that he adds in there, it's just fantastic. So every day we kind of did that. So 7 a.m. breakfast starts, and then 8 a.m. is kind of the start of the workshop. So Friday, we had a speaker by the name Joey Coleman there. And mind you, we're staying on the beach in Outer Banks. We've got 3 awesome houses to stay in. Everybody's got their own room. it's a good vibe. We all pay for we pay like a per night fee to kind of chip in to cover some of the cost. And then obviously we have to pay to get there. So we still have to pay for the flights and the rental vehicles. So we do pay our fair share. This isn't just like a free thing. So Friday, Joey Coleman is the guest speaker. He wrote a book. He's got a couple books, but the book that we were focusing on was Never Lose a Customer Again, which I read prior to going out there as kind of like a little homework assignment. So what he did was he came Friday. It was a 2-part workshop, 8 a.m. to noon, and then like 1 to 4:30. And we really, his main focus, and I think it's a good book for anybody to read, especially in customer service, customer experience, but also like if you're a small business owner, if you do marketing stuff for your business, whatever you're doing, I think it's a good book to realize if you're working with customers and consumers, like it's a solid book to kind of eye open and understand what the customer's thinking and going through. So the gist of this book and Joey Coleman's workshop was really what is like the client journey or the customer journey. And so from like a gym standpoint, you go from kind of like a cold lead, right? Like somebody who, how do we find them, right? Maybe a Facebook ad, maybe a billboard, whatever. So now you take the customer from not knowing who you are to kind of knowing who you are to the gym tour to the sign up. Maybe they sign up for personal training or maybe they sign up for general gym access. So there's really like this 8 client phase of they don't know you. They come in, they sign up. They might have buyer's remorse. They're nervous about what to wear. They're nervous about how to act. They're nervous about where do they put their shoes? Where do they come in? Where do they sign the paperwork, right? And then us gym owners use all these crazy words like consultation or in-body or movement matrix or what to expect. And we talk in our terms, right? So it was really just breaking down how to communicate with the customer, but also what happens after they sign up. Are we still making sure they're taken care of, they're happy, their expectations are being met, their goals are being met? So his thought or his theory is the first 100 days are the most important to any customer and client in any business. If they sign up for a membership-based thing, the first 100 days is kind of like the make it or break it. If this client's going to stay for a long time or if this client's going to cancel their membership. So it also talks a lot about like touch points through those 100 days. So after they sign up, after they're happy, after they've had their first 1 or 2 sessions, what happens next? We're always looking for new customers, right? We're always looking to make a sale, but we often forget about our current customers. We often forget about showing appreciation to our current customers, right? So like the retention aspect. Our goal should be to keep these customers long term and keep them happy and make sure their goals are being met. Because if we don't lose the 100% of clients, let's just say the 100% of clients we are losing, let's say we can cut that back to 75 or 50%, that's a huge amount of gain in revenue, right? So that's kind of what we were working on, was just kind of like retention tools and thinking about that customer through that first 100-day journey and how we should be treating them, and talked a lot about like gifts and stuff like that, like giving back and recognizing good clients and the clients that you want around, recognizing those clients. So anyways, that was our Friday. That was a full workshop day. It was a good time. We learned a lot, took a lot of notes. It was a big presentation. Joey Coleman is a super awesome guy, energetic, just fit right in, and it was a good time. So after that, again, we've got lunch at noon. I think we had like pulled pork and ribs or something for lunch or something like that. That's an hour session. Then we go back into workshop part 2, and then afterwards we've got about an hour and a half break. Then we've got dinner, right? So dinner again is like 6:15. What was interesting Friday night, so dinner goes from 6:15 to 7:15. They always try to do some kind of like entertainment while we're out there. So they hired a magician, which was funny enough. It was like a comedy magician show. Like it wasn't anything too crazy. It was like an hour long, had some really cool tricks. A lot of it was kind of mind blowing. I don't know if you're into magic, but it's just crazy. The final trick, which was kind of mind-blowing. He grabbed a Rubik's Cube. He passed it all around. Every single person in the stand had to move it and change it whatever direction they wanted to. And then it ends up back at the front, and he makes a joke out of it. But then he goes, there's 42 quintillion ways to do this Rubik's Cube. And he grabs this off to his left, our right. So there's this Rubik's Cube thing, right? And so there's this... off to like, there's like a piano or something in this little area that we were at. So on this piano, before he set up, or when he was setting up his show before we started, we didn't see it, of course, but he had long story short, he had a Rubik's Cube with on top of it was like a fishbowl. On top of that was like a drape or like a curtain or whatever, like a little cloth, right? So you couldn't see the Rubik's Cube. And so at the end of us shuffling this Rubik's Cube around, it goes back up to him. And he goes, what would you do if I said, like, that's exactly how I knew it was going to be, right? And he takes this cloth off, which then there's a Rubik's Cube. He takes, like, this vase thing off the top of that, and then he grabs the Rubik's Cube. And all 6 sides are the same as the one that we just all randomly meshed up. So it was, like, again, mind-blowing. You're like, I don't know how that works, but it was pretty interesting. So cheap entertainment, fun entertainment. It was a good time. Magic show. Again, afterwards, it goes into a social hour. We all hang out, drink a couple beers. I think I was done after the magic show, so I just kind of hung out for an hour and a half, went to bed early. Saturday was the main point. Saturday was all about like what's called like hot seats is kind of what they use for terminology. So what a hot seat is an individual will come up to the front, similar to the Thursday night thing that I had to do, but no, the individual comes up and the gym owner will kind of go through a situation they're going through. Maybe they want a new lease. Maybe they want a new building. Maybe they've got a customer they have to deal with and they don't know how. So they go a full 2 minutes of explanation of what their situation is. Then we have a 3-minute period if everybody in the crowd gets to ask a question, like clarifying questions to make sure we understand the story. And then it's roughly a 5-minute answers and give input to this individual and what everybody else thinks. So that way the individual can kind of take all of that and do what they want with it. So there's a good 5 to 8 or so people that came up and kind of gave a scenario. And so that was our majority of work Saturday, was just kind of understanding everybody else's issues that they were having going on. And some people who were looking at moving a gym or opening a second gym or closing a second gym. And so it was good just to kind of see what other gym owners are going through and what their thought process is. And learned a lot that day as well, just kind of seeing what is going well with other people. So that was Saturday until about noon. Then we had lunch. Then we had a break, and then we actually went to an adventure park. It's kind of like not a team bonding, but just kind of like again, another little entertainment option. So Saturday, adventure park, which was basically just a ropes course. I don't know if you've done a ropes course before. It's not something that I would like naturally book myself, but after doing it, it was a lot of fun. Ropes course, obstacle course, there's 4 levels to it. So level 4 was the hardest once you got all the way to the top. But overall, it was a good time. You're strapped in and you're just kind of doing this obstacle course way up in the air, and you have the option to zip line, and it was cool. It was a good time. So that was kind of Saturday. Went back again, social rest of the night. We had dinner again, 6:15. I called it an early night Saturday night because G and I had to wake up at 5 a.m. Eastern, so 4 a.m. back home, drive 2.5 hours, and get back to the airport. So an interesting thing too, I don't know how many people have experienced driving on the beach, but you actually have to air down your tires before you get to the beach. So you actually have to take them down to, if it's like a half ton or less, it is a half ton or less vehicle. You need a 4-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, and then you have to air down your tires. We had to take our tires down to 20 psi from 36 or 38, whatever the Jeep was standard. So that was already kind of interesting. But yeah, so that was kind of our trip to North Carolina. We have actually got another trip coming up in October to a place out in Las Vegas area. It's not Las Vegas. I think it's like Boulder City, Nevada or something. So it's like an hour from Las Vegas. So we've got to go out there. Our guest speaker is actually going to be Russell Brunson, which is super, super exciting. I've read a lot of his books, and that'll be super cool. So that was kind of a cap on our trip. Sunday morning we flew back, and we got back home around 4 o'clock. Same thing. We had a layover in Atlanta. It was a quick one, and then back to Milwaukee. So good trip, great experience. It's really awesome to be a part of like these groups of people. Just again, being in these small towns, there's always mentors. There's always people you can look up to and talk to and get opinions. But having people who have done it, they've done it longer than you, the exact same industry, and then also like different states and kind of what's working for other facilities. And mind you, all of these facilities are different. There's some people who have a 1,500 square foot personal training studio, and there's some people who have a 10 to 15,000 square foot facility that's like 24/7 and personal training, large group, all of these other things, right? So it's good to kind of get everybody's opinion on stuff, because there's a lot of different, like, again, I'm going to say it, like angles on how to think about the fitness industry. So yeah, it was a fantastic trip. There was no complaints from me. Our one in October was fantastic too. My biggest takeaways were probably one, getting in front of the crowd and doing something I did not want to do. Like, that feeling was just amazing. But 2, the Joey Coleman stuff, just thinking about what the customer is thinking. Like, again, hey, come in for a consultation. What does that mean? Who are they coming in to meet with? Like, what should they wear to this consultation? Like, should they be wearing athletic clothes and like be ready for the consultation? What does a consultation even mean? Am I going to be in front of a bunch of people? Am I going to be in a private room? Do I come in the front doors of the gym? Thinking about all those things that you're nervous. It's like the first day of school when you're a kid. Like, that's how some people feel when they go to the gym, right? Like, if they're not familiar with the fitness center. So it's like walking into any new business. You don't know what the layout is. So trying to like work on that barrier and explain to the customers what to expect. Like just sending like a video message or voice message or call, a voicemail, whatever, and say, hey, just wanted to let you know it's Chase. He's our fitness director. He does a lot of our consults. Hey, it's Chase. I just want to let you know when you get to our gym in Watoma, I'll meet you at the front door. I'm going to give you a tour. Don't worry. Just wear normal clothes. You don't, whatever. Maybe wear shoes and not sandals or whatever for obvious reasons. But, just having those conversations ahead of time and making sure the customer is extremely comfortable, I think that's important. And so that's something that we're going to try to work on doing. I think it's also very important that we have to think about the journey as a whole and the system as a whole. We can't just start doing this tomorrow, because if we don't do it consistently, if we do it for 2 months and then we stop doing it for 3, it's actually going to like hurt the systems, because it's going to look bad, right? It's like they were expecting this, or we told them this when they signed up and then we like fell off and didn't do our promise, right? So we need to make sure that when we implement these things, that you think about the entire system and that it's going to continue working and evolving and being good for the customer. We can't just kind of half-ass it. So those are kind of some takeaways. The book is great. I recommend it to anybody, again, who works with customers marketing-wise, or just deals with customers on a day-to-day basis, or owns a business or whatever. I think it's a great book to read. So that's kind of all I got today. I just wanted to give you guys a cap on our trip and kind of explain that. Again, if you followed me on Snapchat, Instagram, or Facebook, you probably saw me posting out there, driving in the dunes or the sand and the houses and all that stuff. It was a really great experience. So, and then, we got a free book. We got a signing with Joey Coleman at the end. We got to kind of, not a meet and greet, but you got to kind of talk to him for a couple minutes if you had any personal questions. So overall, fantastic trip. But yeah, I'm going to kind of leave it there for today's episode. Instagram, Facebook, ColtonBurt19. Snapchat is Colton.Burt, COLTON.BURT. Email us, marketing@fitnessgrizzly.com. Any questions you have, please give us a shout. If there's anything that you're doing, that you're changing your life slowly, one step at a time, I'd love to hear what that is. I'd love to know what steps you've taken, or what steps you're thinking about taking, or hey, I just don't know what direction I should go. I'd love to have that conversation with you. So again, thanks for tuning in. This is episode 24 of many, and we will see you guys on Thursday. Have a good one.